Thank you, Pat, for that introduction. And pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. It was just back in January when we were together at the White House, Senator Brown and Senator Portman announcing this historic investment. In March, I shared the story in my State of the Union address. The story of the Field of Dreams in the middle of Ohio, where America's future will be built. In August, we were back at the White House as I signed the CHIPS and Science Act, one of the most significant science and technology investments in our history. And now, in September, Gov, we're here breaking ground, and thanks for the passport to get to the state, Gov. Appreciate it. All in 9 months in America. I want to thank Sherrod Brown for his relentless work, especially making sure that labor is in on this deal. And Pat just mentioned what Sherrod makes clear. It's time to bury the label Rust Belt.
The amount of the credit also varies by state. Vermont, for example, offers a monthly credit of $1,000 per child. That's under the age of 5, with a family income below $125,000 a year. In contrast, New Mexico offers credits worth of $175 to $175 per child. Some states offer credits linked to the federal child tax credit. For instance, in New York, the state credit is either 33% of the federal tax credit or $100 per qualifying child, whichever is greater. In Colorado, the state credit is 5% to 30% of the federal credit for each qualifying child. Students will start heading back to school in a matter of weeks, but fewer parents say they can afford back-to-school shopping this year because of rising inflation. According to a recent survey, only 36% of the 2,100 U.S. parents surveyed said they can afford their kids going back to school shopping. That number was down from 52% of the previous year. The survey also found that over 37% of parents are stressed about back-to-school shopping, up from 32% the year before. Last year, USA Today noted that the family benefited from stimulus checks and advanced child tax credit payments. The Consumer Price Index for urban consumers increased 1.3% in June on a seasonally adjusted basis. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, over the past 12 months, the All Items Index increased 9.1%, the fastest increase in decades. Analysts have reported that since early May, the number of back-to-school shoppers planning to spend more than $500 in supplies has increased to 25%. A poll revealed also that 60% of the 1,200 parents surveyed said they're spending more because prices are higher. The average amount spent per child is 8%. There's a huge update on the fourth stimulus check. As inflation continues to affect millions of Americans, lawmakers are teaming together to propose brand new legislation. A new crisis relief package may include fourth stimulus payments for everybody. It comes no surprise, though, everybody, that some residents are struggling to pay for common necessities. According to Newsweek, Delaware will continue to be sending out $300 relief rebates to many residents. This is a one-time direct payment to help people face the higher prices at the pump. The state, which has already sent out its first round of checks, said there may be as many as 150,000 eligible residents still waiting for their money. The Delaware Finance Secretary also told reporters that we estimate that the maximum amount left might be 150,000. We are working with numerous other state agencies to identify other people in the state. The Department of Finance began sending out checks in the first batch to those who already filed their 2020 Delaware resident personal income taxes by the due date. Rebates will continue to be sent out to residents who filed their 2021 tax returns in the coming months. The department is also developing how to identify qualifying adult residents who did not file a 2020 Delaware tax return and may have been exempt due to their income level, pension, or Social Security. Georgia has sent out either $250 checks or $500 checks to those who filed their taxes in 2020 and 2021 to help offset inflation. Those who filed their taxes as an individual versus jointly will receive a smaller amount. Those who filed their returns by April 18th can also expect to see the payment reflected into their amounts early this month if they have not already received it. The governor is also considering proposals for another round of rebates for Georgia state taxpayers. The governor is looking for ways to include a homeowner property tax rebate. Both rebates will be funded by the large budget surplus, the same surplus being used to fund the gas tax suspension. Initial filings for unemployment insurance fell to the lowest level since late June last week, a sign that the labor market is resilient amidst slowing economies. The Labor Department reported today that claims totaled a seasonally adjusted 232,000 for the week ending August 27th. It's a decline of 500,000 from the previous period and the lowest since June 25th. Continuing claims to increase to 1.44 million, amid worries that the U.S. is teetering on a recession. The job market has provided a bulwark indicating that hiring demand is strong and consumer spending is held up despite soaring inflation. Early this week, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that job openings rose past 11.2 million. Federal officials have been trying to bridge the gaps between and slow down inflation through a series of aggressive interest rate hikes. Despite those moves, inflation remained near its highest level in 40 years. Steve Hank, a professor of applied economics at Johns Hopkins University, said this week that he believes the U.S. is heading for a whopper of a recession next year. During an interview with CNBC, he said the economic downturn had been made inevitable due to U.S. money supply soaring and stagnating. He said throughout the world history, there has never been sustained inflation, which is inflation above 4% for more than 2 years, that had not been caused by excessive growth in the supply of oil.
And call it as Pat said, the Silicon Heartland. That's what's happening in these 1,000 acres. I want to thank Rob Portman for being the gentleman and decent man that he is, and for showing that Democrats and Republicans can work together to get big things done for our country. I really mean it. I'm trying to find where he sits, but he's a good man. Thank you. You're leaving a hell of a legacy as you leave what you're doing as a consequence of you, in large part. And thanks to the bipartisan group of Ohio congressional delegation here today. Tim Ryan, thank you for your leadership, always representing innocent working people. Thank you, Congressman Joyce Beatty. And, I don't think we could have gotten the infrastructure bill done without Joyce. She was the final capstone. I thought we all thought it was hanging in the balance there. But I don't know what you did that last 4 hours. But whatever you did, you got it done. And Dave Joyce, Anthony Gonzalez, Mike Carey, Tony Balderson for the work in the House. We're also joined by congressional leaders from around the country who fought so hard for this bill. Eddie Bernice Johnson, chair of the House Science Committee. Eddie, this whole bill wouldn't have gotten done without you. It really wouldn't have. We're also joined by Congressman Ro Khanna. Ro is a tireless champion for American innovation and seeing that workers are part of the deal. While she couldn't be here, Maria Cantwell also deserves a lot of credit. She's chair of the Senate Commerce Committee from the state of Washington. Maria was tireless getting this bill through the Senate. And again, Mike, I want to thank you for your work on this project as well. And I especially want to thank the labor leaders here. My dear friend Lonnie Stevens of the IBW, Tim Berger, the president of AFL-CIO, Brent Booker, treasurer of National Building Trades, Mike Kinsley, president of Ohio Building Trades. You know, it's fitting to break ground for America's future here in Ohio. Think about it. There's kind of a tradition here. The Wright brothers, Neil Armstrong, John Glenn, they defined America's spirit, the spirit of daring and innovation. Pat Chase laid out Intel's vision that builds on that legacy. A brand new $20 billion campus, 7,000 construction jobs, union construction jobs, 3,000 full-time jobs that will pay an average of $135,000 a year, and not all of them will require a college degree once these facilities are built. And here's a critical piece. Intel is using